Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of my Clipper faithful. It's so nice to see people trickling in and streaming in as we begin our last day of questions for Polygon Week Community Takeover. We're very lucky to have Jacob, the COO and founder from Clearpool, to join us for our AMA. I'll give him just a few moments before he comes to the stage while we let people come in. And I want to say thank you to everyone for being here for our last day of Polygon Week Community Takeover. As you know, our goal is to replace the institutional liquidity in the Polygon pool, as well as our designated coves of Sushi, Hex, and Frax. We're going to bring Jake up to the stage. We're going to have him. I'm going to explain to him a little bit more about Polygon Week Community Takeover. He's going to tell us about Clearpool. It seems fairly relevant since credit in crypto has, crashed recently, and perhaps if we had on-chain solutions like Clearpool, maybe credit wouldn't have been such a big issue. And there's one final thing you should know today: our answers are going to be recorded on the Frax network. One of our users very recently let us know that the Frax auto-populated token in Clipper Coves is an outdated contract, so I'm going to show you how you can deposit into the correct Frax contract, but we will have our devs check both. So without further ado, less announcements. Let's bring Jacob from Clearpool up to the stage. I'm inviting you to. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of my Clipper faithful. Thank you so much for being here. I've been muted, so I did a full announcement for the last few moments, but I'm going to go through them quickly again because that's what happens when you are live. I wanted to say thank you to everyone for streaming in to our last day of Polygon Week Community Takeover. We have with us today Jacob from Clearpool. He is the COO and founder, and we're excited to have him tell us about Clearpool. Very quickly, I'm going to do some quick announcements, and then we're going to get to Jacob so he can tell us all about what Clearpool is. So thanks to everyone for being here. Jacob, actually, you know what? Let's say hi right quick, and then I'll get into announcements. It's so nice for you to be here. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Hello, everyone, and really, really nice for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot. Excited to be here. Excited to talk about Clearpool, and yeah, I hope to get some good questions as well from you guys.
Yeah, my pleasure. And we were when we were looking for cool Polygon projects to educate people about during Polygon Week. One of our users said, "Look, you got to go get Clearpool because credit has sort of collapsed in cryptocurrency recently, and if there was." If more people knew about on-chain solutions like Clearpool, maybe that credit would have been solved, not an issue. So before we start talking a little bit more about Clearpool, let me tell you about what our goals are for this week. So Clipper Exchange has a number of pools, one of them being on the Polygon network. And the Polygon main pool has about $1.1 million dollars of liquidity in it. And of that $1.1 million dollars, about $1 million dollars of it is institutional liquidity. Now, Clipper has the best gas, best prices, and also it shows the best yield year over year for our users. It's quite high. And we want our pirates, our retail users, since Clipper is devoted to retail users, why shouldn't they capture all those yields? So our goal is to replace that $1 million of institutional liquidity with pirate liquidity. And the way that we're going about that is every day this week we're launching a new set of questions. You are the fourth and final set of questions. And the way that people mark their answers is by either depositing or swapping in the Polygon pool or designated pools. And what they do is they swap or deposit a very, very specific amount. So we're going to learn about Clearpool. And then once you step down from the stage, I'm going to drop those questions with those very specific deposit numbers. And people can record their answers on chain. And the rewards are you can get rare rewards for answering questions correctly, answering questions speedily. If you're the first person, you get the Speed Learner NFT. And of course, since our goal is to add liquidity to the Polygon pool, we will sum up the deposits that people make across the Polygon pool, Hex, Frax, and Sushi Coves. And the people with the most deposits, if they make over $100, they get the Scurvy Scalawag level. At $1,000, they get the first mate level, and at $5,000, they get the Caftans level. And of course, the one rare, unique one of one NFT for the person who deposits the most over this period will get the big boss NFT. So that's what we're doing for a Polygon community takeover, but more so than just affecting the pools is we want to educate our users about cool Polygon projects and about coves, and that's why we brought you here. So can you tell us a little bit about Clearpool?
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Ben. Yeah, so as you mentioned, hi everyone. I'm Jacob. I'm one of the co-founders of Clearpool. Clearpool is a project built originally on Ethereum, and since actually 1 month, we also launched it on Polygon. We are live since March this year, so it's approximately 5 months that we're live. Just to give you a little bit of idea of size, we're currently at about 110 million liquidity provided. So we're lending protocol. So currently 110 million is being lent out on our protocol. I think at the beginning we were even a little bit high. We were actually even a little bit higher. Then obviously lately it was a bit of a rough time, but we've seen very, very good growth again in the last 2 months. So we're growing quite quickly, also with the help of Polygon. So Clearpool, what Clearpool does is Clearpool is a lending protocol, but we're doing unsecured loans for institutions. Now, the first and largest DeFi lending protocols such as Maker, Aave, Compound, you might know that they work on the basis of over collateralization. So you need to post a certain amount of collateral, and then you can take out a loan that is in a different currency, but that loan is lower than the collateral that you had to post. And in the case that the price of the asset of your collateral goes down, this protocol is able to liquidate your position, and therefore it becomes very safe for lenders. Now, while this is very safe for lenders, we call this concept over collateralization. It is quite capital inefficient, because in order to get a loan, you actually need to post a larger position in a different asset. And for a lot of the firms out there, especially the firms that we work with, those are like trading firms. They're having very successful, sometimes relatively, I would say, um, you know. Yeah, from a risk perspective, quite reasonable strategies. Um, but they need to have collateral, and they can't just lock up you know collateral in order to execute their strategies. So for those type of guys, this is very capital inefficient, and this is why what we do at Clearpool is basically we're doing unsecured loans. So borrowers do not need to post any collateral, but in contrast, what we do is we make sure that the borrowers are credit worthy. How do we do that? First of all, we do a KYB. So we actually make sure that we are validating who those borrowers are. So not everyone can just borrow. And then we're also doing a risk assessment of those borrowers. So our borrowers are institutions only, and we are vetting those institutions. We're giving them a credit rating based on several different characteristics. We look at their balance sheets. We look at their on-chain credit history. We're also able to get some live data, so real-time data on what is their combined equity on all the different exchanges and all the different DeFi wallets that they're trading on. And then we give those guys a rating, and then those institutions can open pools on Clearpool, and those pools can then be funded by the DeFi ecosystem.
Got it.
So, in a way, we are a marketplace for institutional capital.
That's great. So let me hop in and make sure I understand. So first of all, $110 million, that's a lot of liquidity provided. Also, I see that you are over the 7-day TVL growth. You guys are number 2 on DeFi Llama. So really reaching for the stars right now. So that's great. And so I understand borrowers are institutions, but the nice thing here is that the lenders, you're kind of opening the door to retail investors. So it can be anyone that's a lender. Is that right?
That's correct, right? So normally those institutions, when you talk to institutions, those are like the largest trading firms in the industry, like Alameda, Wintermute, or the crypto native ones, but we even have some Wall Street guys like Jane Street.
Right.
They're opening those pools, and then normally only you can only fund those pools if you're another, institution. You have that, you have a lot of capital in the millions. But with Clearpool, what we're doing is we are sort of like giving access to basically everyone, so everyone can just connect and can fund those institutions. And obviously, you're getting a much higher yield. Because this yield is risk adjusted. So you're getting the yield currently is roughly 10% versus below 1% on over collateralized lending platforms.
Great. 10% is great. And you said it's KYC and KYB, so know your customer, know your business for the borrowers, and those are institutions. What's the process to
Correct.
become a lender?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, on the borrowing side, we're doing actually KYBs and know your business. We're doing some checks. On the lending side, it is full DeFi. So anyone can just access the protocol, connect with their MetaMask account, and fund those pools.
So
So
go
on
in,
the
yeah.
lending,
Go in, fund,
yeah,
and get 10% basically. Just connect MetaMask, nothing else needed.
and fund those pools. And the pools are being funded in stable coins. Currently, we only offer USDC pools, so it's risk neutral, like stable coin yield. So you can connect you can fund with your stables. Yeah.
Right, of course. And we've recently seen that stable coins aren't necessarily as risk free as you might think, but USDC, it's not non-algorithmic, which I guess is a little bit less
Exactly,
likely
right.
to
So
be
I
gamed.
think that, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's important to note here is we stayed away from any algorithmic stablecoin, and we're only doing USDC, which is the only one that's actually being audited, and we believe it's the safest one in the market, backed by real hard cash.
All right. Well, will you think about the next thing that you want to teach us about Clearpool? Why don't I drop some links in chat about where they should go? So, is the best place for them to go clearpool.finance and just, or maybe
Yeah,
docs. Like,
yeah,
where's the landing page
yeah,
that you want people to go to learn about you?
yeah. The landing page is called Clearpool.finance.
Okay.
Um, and I guess on that landing page, we also have a docs page.
Yeah.
I think if you just want to have a high level overview, we also have a good YouTube video
All right.
um,
I'll drop.
that I could share here as well. Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead and DM that
let
to
me
me,
try.
and I'll drop it in Polygon Week Community Takeover. So I'm dropping the link to the introduction, what is Clearpool, and then if you want to either send me the YouTube link or drop it in main channel, that's fine also. So what else do you want to teach
Yeah,
us about Clearpool? Although I am
yeah,
asking you to
maybe just
multitask, I'm telling you to give me a YouTube link and talk. But whatever you can do, let's see. Let's
that's
see it.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, so maybe just a little bit about how we're different. I don't know if you know other platforms in a similar space.
Yeah.
There are a couple of them, but we're a little bit different to maybe the two other main ones are called Maple Finance and TrueFi.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the two major differences. The first one is that for for those um, for those platforms, you basically just fund a generic pool, and then there is some sort of asset manager that allocates to all the different borrowers.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe on Clearpool, we went the other way. We structured it like a marketplace. So you have all the different borrowers with all the different stats, and you can see how much they pay. You see the rating of each borrower, and then as a lender, you can come in and you can choose exactly who do you want to fund. So you can, create your own risk-adjusted sort of like a profile, and you can only fund those borrowers that you want. So we have single borrower pools. That's the first one. And the second one, maybe that's also quite interesting, is that usually we see that the norm in the industry are fixed term loans. So, those are loans that have a fixed size and a fixed interest rate and a fixed duration, while our pools are very dynamic. So the pool size depends on the actual, demand and supply, how many people are depositing, and even the interest rate is dependent on like a micro market that depends on the interaction of lenders and borrowers. And those interest rate curves that we have that determine how much interest borrowers are paying and lenders are earning. That also fluctuates depending on market conditions. So, earlier this year or late last year, when the market was really good and risk was perceived very low, those borrowers paid a lower interest rate. And then, since then, based on those inputs that we're getting from different sort of like oracles, we call them, the interest rate curve increased, and right now the interest rates are higher. So our pools are very dynamic. I would say relatively smart, and they actually move based on market conditions, and they also move based on the profile of the borrower, like depending on what kind of rating they have, etc.
That's fascinating. So I'm learning a ton right now. Let me see if I can speak this back to you to make sure I understand. So one way that Clearpool is different is that whereas normally someone else would allocate your funds for you, but in Clearpool they're single borrower funds, so I can decide where to send my money specifically, create my own risk profile. If I think a borrower is a little bit more risky, but I can get a higher interest rate, maybe I'll go there. And then secondly, instead of a fixed rate, it's dynamic and somewhat smart based on market conditions. Is that correct so far?
That's a perfect summary. I wish I could have said it as concise as you. That's
Oh, well,
great.
you're a great
Awesome.
teacher. So, can you tell me a little bit more about these the dynamic smart fluctuations of rate? Like, what are these oracles? How do you actually does someone go in and turn up and down the rates, or it happens automatically? How does tell me a little bit more about that? How are you judging market conditions to determine interest rates?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thanks. Right now, actually, the curve is, we're getting those inputs from those oracles, but we're still inputting them manually.
Mm-hmm.
But we're actually just launching our new governance model. The new governance model, if you are a C pool holder, so C pool is our governance token,
Mm-hmm.
you can stake that C pool and you can delegate the C pool, delegate your voting power to these oracles. And then in the curve, they have different parameters, right? You can imagine it's a curve. There is
Sure.
a interest rate at 0% utilization, an interest rate at 100% utilization, a lowest interest rate, and a couple of factors that move it up and down depending on rating, etc. And we have those oracles. Who are those oracles? Those oracles are experts in the credit market space. So, for example, the company that does our risk assessment rating, they're called Credora. They're one of those oracles. Our partner Hex Trust, they're another one of those oracles. So those are real, those are companies, leaders in the field of providing sort of like credit solutions. And these guys are voting on those parameters. We're then always, updating the curve based on the average of those votes, and we are rewarding the oracles if they vote within a certain range from the average. So basically, and those rewards, those are like SQL rewards. They are
Mm-hmm.
splitting with the token holders that are delegating their voting power to them.
So if your
So
vote is close to what
they're
actually happens in reality, you'll get rewarded for it.
yeah,
Very
exactly.
cool.
So they need to be always like checking what are the market dynamics and vote, and basically it's a little bit like a wisdom of the crowd. So they're being rewarded by voting like other people. So it's a it's a curve that ultimately is being decided on by the community, but the community, gives their voting power to the oracles that they think are the best. And those oracles are also gonna, advertise themselves. They need to provide some information. They need to sell the community on why they think they're the best oracles. And obviously, it's hard facts. Everyone is going to check how often were they in consensus with other people, how often were they off. So, and then there is some mechanisms in place that prevent for them to have too much power, so they can only have a certain amount of voting power. This full governance piece is actually just being launched. We're currently testing it, but we're launching it very, very soon.
Okay, wonderful. So our users can go in and maybe get some C pool rewards. It's fascinating. It sounds like you give a lot of power back to the individual users, both in who they want to lend their money to and in at least choosing who is their informed people that decide the interest rate. So it's really exciting. I'm wondering, you guys seem to be doing so much, and you have $110 million in liquidity provided. How big is your team? When did you start? Who are you all? Who are the people behind Clearpool? Tell me a little. Let's get small talky. Tell me a little bit about you all.
Yeah. So I think currently we're roughly 15 people.
One five,
Um,
1 5.
1.5. So it's not even that many people. I think I always say lean and mean. It's sometimes
Yeah.
better. So it's a small team, but everyone is really committed and everyone is really working hard. We are relatively remote, even though the core team, there's quite a few people in Hong Kong. I'm right now in Hong Kong, but I've been traveling I've been like in Europe for the last 5 months. So, it's remote. You don't really need to be anywhere working at Clearpool. The important thing is just that, you get it done and you work well together as a team. As for the founders, we are three co-founders. There next to me there is also Rob, who's the CEO, and there's Alessio. Now Alessio is basically a senior advisor, and he's very much behind the vision of Clearpool and the vision of our product. He's also the CEO of a relatively large custodian called Hex Trust that has offices in multiple countries. The Rob and Alessio are actually my co-founders. They have a TradFi background, so they met at the bank, and then got passionate into crypto. Alessio left and started a company, and Rob was starting a few things, and then they basically decided that they wanted to give this a go. Also because they worked in this particular field, so they worked in capital markets their whole lives or their whole career.
Hmm.
And I am the only non-TradFi guy, so I have a startup background.
Ah.
And before this, I've been building up I would say e-commerce or consumer-facing marketplaces, such as I helped building one of the largest food delivery companies, I guess in Asia, the largest one outside of China, and other e-commerce players. And then I went into fintechs. I did alternative lending in Southeast Asia. So we did all sort of lending solutions for everyone that was basically left out of traditional banks, like mom and pop shops, e-commerce, marketplace sellers, startups, all those guys. So that was my entry into finance, into fintech. And then when I would say DeFi summer came up, I got more and more passionate into crypto, and I realized there were like a lot of similarities, but it was just even a lot more interesting, and I got really, really excited. And that's when I started to seriously consider to do crypto full time. Before, for a while I was you know just very passionate about it, trading, looking at projects,
Sure.
participating in ICOs, the usual, I guess.
Yeah, the usual. That's fascinating. So a lot of TradFi, some startups, some lending solutions, and it all seems dedicated to bringing it to the individual user, which is a movement that Clipper can get behind because Clipper is our exchange guarantees the best trades for retail traders, which is small and medium trades under $50,000. And the trade off is that the whales get lots of slippage and bad trades. We have a capped pool to ensure that the math works out that way. So look, I really appreciate you coming on. I've learned a ton. One last question before I drop you back down in the audience. We'll move to the tasks. So you talked about how Cpool is launching. Does Cpool exist right now, or it doesn't exist yet?
Yeah, no, SQL already exists. I just mentioned our new governance
The governance.
process that
Got it.
impacts the curve, right? But SQL is already trading since end of last year. It's currently trading on KuCoin, Ascendex, and Gate.io exchanges, and obviously Uniswap as well. And there's probably probably maybe there's some listings coming up as well.
Yeah, well, provide us
But yeah, that's
provide me with the smart contract, and I'll add it to one of our Clipper codes so that we can start trading Cpool on Clipper as well. Um, so I said one last question, but here's the actual last question. I'll let you have a final word. So I see that you guys are on Ethereum and Polygon. The reason that I was directed to you is because we're showing cool Polygon projects. Can you talk about why you chose Polygon, and then I'll let you have final words, and I'll say goodbye and thank you.
Yeah, sure. So I guess initially we were on. Sorry,
Yeah, I can hear you.
am I
You're
still
good. Yeah,
on?
you're good.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we for Clearpool, it's as I mentioned, it's very institutional, right? So both on the on the borrowing, but also on the lending side, we also have a few institutions. So for us at the beginning, security, I would say was key and was the most important thing, right? This is why we, went with Ethereum, just because at the beginning we just wanted to make sure it's perfectly secure, and there was a trust there also from institutions, and they would be transacting several millions. Then, once we had that in place, I think for us, Polygon just represented the ideal addition, obviously, because it allows for, more efficient transactions and lower fees, which we saw that it has been helping us massively with user adoption. And actually, the Polygon pools became larger than the Ethereum pools within 2 weeks from launching them. So just to give you an idea, we had maybe like 4 months of Ethereum, and then within 2 weeks of launching Polygon pools became larger than the Ethereum pools. So we saw massive adoption, and we also saw a big diversification in terms of the liquidity providers. So in terms of the lenders, we had many lenders, and actually Polygon helped us to really like access retail users, because before with Ethereum, we all know that it's kind of hard if you have to make multiple transactions, and very
Yeah.
often the fees are just like eating into your actual returns.
Yep.
And that being said, like the last thing is just that I think Polygon, again, from that, security perspective, and from the perspective of being accepted also by large institutions, I think Polygon is ahead of any other sort of like layer two solution, and that also gave us the confidence, and we see that most of our lenders, also the large ones, don't have any problem in bridging and using Polygon. And then, last but not least, we were really amazed by the Polygon team. Has been super supportive.
Yeah.
We've been talking a lot with them. Obviously, they've been supportive. They provided some extra Matic rewards that you get right now. We have a campaign going on, so you can check that out. But also, more than that, they've been connecting us to, key players in the industry, key projects, and there's a lot of interesting and exciting things, basically, and opportunities that are gonna be materialized in the next couple of weeks, months, due to this collaboration with Polygon. So, overall, it's been a great decision, I would say.
That's great. Yep. So secure, easy to use, adoption, great team. What could be better? So thank you so much for speaking to us. I really appreciate it. I'll give you just a few moments to say final words, and I'm going to pop people onto to their task. So thanks again. What do you want to tell the audience as you take off?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for having me here. I think it's always awesome to see those communities, and that no matter where you are in the world, no matter what time it is, people taking the time to inform themselves about DeFi and about all the different projects. And yeah, it's been a big honor to speak with you. If there's anything, you can find me on Telegram. My name is really difficult, but you can just go to the main chat and you'll see me as a co-founder, and you can just reach out directly and ask me any question.
All right. I'll
Thanks
make
for having me, and thanks, Ben, as well. Yeah, it's been a great pleasure. And I wish you all a good morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever you have, and a good weekend.
Thank you. You're too kind. I'll make sure to drop your Telegram in chat too. Okay, that was Jacob from Clearpool. I learned a ton. I'm going to drop all the links so you guys can go into Clearpool as well. And now let's move to our Polygon Week tasks. We have two questions for you today. They're both going to be in the Frax Cove, one deposit and one swap. We're going to start with our swap question because our swap question deals with Clearpool. And since we learned so much about Clearpool, let's get right into it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the Frax question set into the main instructions document so you can read along with me. We are going to do that here. And stick with me while I copy it over. Okay, Polygon pool community takeover Frax deposit questions are now live in the community takeover instructions, so you can go ahead and read along with them there. I also noticed this morning one of our users told us that the Frax auto-populated cove in Clipper Coves on the Polygon network is an old contract. So there are instructions into how to deposit into the updated contract. If you watch the video, you can see it's up on my screen. Here is the new contract, and there's a video which shows you how you can go ahead and do that. But we'll tell our developers to check both contracts for your right answer, because that is slightly confusing. So let's go to our Frax swap question. And we start with, we had our co-founder here telling us about it, so this should be fairly easy for you. The question is, what is Clearpool? The answer A, a decentralized marketplace for unsecured institutional capital. B, an online bank where users can find loans with very high interest rates. C, an online marketplace where only large institutions can act as lenders. And D, a place where we close the door on credit markets for retail investors who hope to become a network of lenders. Well, you heard us kind of harping on about how this opens the door for retail and anyone can lend. So that might lead you to one of the correct answers. This is a marketplace for all people. But if you want to answer A, make a swap involving Frax on the Polygon network where the value is greater than $10 USD and right of the decimal place is 0.556677. This is a Frax swap on Polygon. A is 0.556677. B, an online bank where users can find loans with very high interest rates. Make that swap with 0.667788. And C, make a swap involving Frax. C is the online marketplace where only large institutions can act as lenders. C is 0.778899. And answer D, where we close the door on credit markets for retail investors, answer 889911. Hint, hint, don't do that one. I'll give you a freebie. This is not to close the door. We want to open it. Now we're going to move to our Frax deposit question. And we can learn about Frax. Oh, by the way, for the swap question, you can go to docs.clearpool.finance and go to their introduction about what is Clearpool to find the answer. Similarly for Frax, we didn't talk about it, but we want to learn about it. And you can learn about Frax at docs.finance/overview, which is right here. And we have the introduction. We also have the deployments on the chain, so we can find out what is the correct smart contract on Polygon right there. But what we learn about Frax is that it is a special type of stablecoin. So our question here, and your answer will be recorded by depositing into the Frax Cove, is the Frax stablecoin protocol is A, entirely collateralized, B, entirely algorithmic, C, implements a design principle of both the above spectrums, or D, is not a stable coin. So go ahead to docs.frax.finance/overview to find out what type of stablecoin Frax is. If you want to answer A, please deposit Frax plus an asset of your choosing, where the combined value of the assets is greater than $10 USD, and the right of the decimal place is 0.654321. For B, it's going to be 765432. For C, it's 876543, and D, it is 987654. Now, there's been a little bit confusion about depositing into coves. You don't have to deposit a balance of assets. The only time you have to do that is when you're activating a cove for the very first time. The reason is if you just have one asset in a cove, you can't trade. It's just one thing. So you need to have a mix of assets. Of course, if a cove is live, which means it already has liquidity, then you can just add one or another of any type of asset. But of course, there's always the risk that you bring the cove out of balance and open yourself up to arbitrage opportunities. So you want to make sure that by depositing the value that there is a mix so that the price doesn't change. Or if the price is already out of balance, you found yourself an arbitrage opportunity for yourself, and you can add in a way that brings it back into line, which you can yourself capture the gains. So if you're going to be depositing into the new Frax Cove, which has, as of an hour ago, zero liquidity because people didn't realize that there was a new contract, make sure that you deposit a equal value mix of assets such that you don't give yourself an arbitrage opportunity. Again, we're going to have the devs check both smart contract addresses, because right now when you type Frax into coves, and I'll show that, when I type in I want to add liquidity, I type in Frax, and you see this one right here that auto populates with the icon. If I click the arrow, which takes me to smart contract access, you see it ends in 125D0, which is an old address. Where if you go to the Frax Polygon address, you can see it ends in 8FF89. So here's how you deposit and add liquidity to that address. Simply copy paste the smart contract, go to Clipper Coves, adding liquidity. And in the asset deposit to a cove, instead of typing in Frax, you merely copy paste the address. And you can see if you, I've already done this, but it's going to tell you it doesn't recognize it. But if you click continue and say, I want to proceed, it will auto populate as Frax. So it does actually recognize this as Frax, doesn't have the icon. So you would click this and then it's less explored. That's all right because it doesn't, it's new and it must be just recently updated. I understand, I continue. And then here, you're going to add Frax and a core asset to the cove to auto-populate it and make sure that that mix the combined value of your assets is greater than $10 so you can count for the deposit bonus. So let me pop down, see if there are any questions. I see in Polygon Week community. Oh, DeFi Gen wants me to post the questions. I'm going to do that right now. DeFi Gen, it is posted in the instructions document. So if you have that link, it's there. And I'll copy paste it and pop it in Polygon Week questions right now. But I won't do that on record because that is boring. So I'm going to sign off, say thank you to everyone, and then I'm going to update those questions. See you guys on YouTube. See you guys in Coves. Since this is the last time that we're talking about Polygon Week, let me just quickly go over the rewards again. We had 8 questions that were given to us over a period of 4 days, 2 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, 2 on Thursday, 2 today. You can mark your answers in the Polygon main pool, Hex Cove, Sushi Cove, and Frax Cove. And we're looking for people to answer questions correctly. If you answer half of them right, you're going to get the Good Student NFT. If you answer them all correctly, you will get the Speed Learner, and the Polygon Expert NFT. If you're the very first person to answer a question correctly, so there's going to be 8 of those, you're going to get the Speed Learner NFT. And then last, if you are reaching certain deposit thresholds, you will get rare NFT rewards. $100 is going to be the Scurvy Scalawag, $1,000 is First Mate, $5,000 is Captain, and the person who deposits the most is the big boss. And of course, we are an American company, so we can't comment about tokens, but we are actively tracking those active and loyal community members that participate in Clipper. So make sure you have those NFT rewards and they will have utility in the Clipperverse and beyond. Let me sign off and make sure to post the questions in text form so that people can go ahead and start answering. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you to Jacob from Clearpool. Thanks to Clipper. And let's go take over the Polygon pool. Bye-bye.